The noise complaint was filed at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, exactly 12 minutes after my daughter's birthday party ended. I'm Elliot Rodriguez, 34, Logistics Officer for Brookvale Port Authority. I've lived in Cedar Landing for 6 years, never had a single violation, never caused problems. The complaint claimed we'd been playing loud music until 4 in the morning. The party ended at 3:35 a.m. I had time-stamped photos. The citation arrived Thursday morning. Municipal Ordinance, the 14th of July 203, excessive noise during quiet hours. First offense carried a $200 fine. The complaint described pounding bass music and shouting continuing past midnight. We'd played acoustic guitar, sang happy birthday, turned off the speakers at 10:30. I called the city compliance office. The clerk, Sophia Miller, pulled up our file. 3 previous complaints in the past month, all anonymous, all filed through the HOA board's expedited process. I'd never received notice of any previous complaints. The system shows warnings were mailed to your address, she said. Certified mail, return receipts on file. I checked my mailbox daily, managed shipping logistics for a living, never missed certified mail. Can you tell me who filed the complaints? Anonymous submissions through HOA board member authorization. Board member signature validates the complaint without requiring complainant identification. I hung up, walked to my mailbox, checked the lock mechanism, no signs of tampering, but the mail slot had been slightly bent outward, fresh scratches around the edges. Someone had been accessing my mail. That afternoon I drove to the post office, requested delivery confirmation records for my address. The postal clerk printed 3 pages. Certified mail deliveries to my address on dates I'd been out of town, all signed for by E. Rodriguez in handwriting that wasn't mine. Someone had been forging my signature, intercepting my mail, filing false complaints. I sat in my truck outside the post office, studied the signature samples. The handwriting was careful, practiced. Someone had been planning this. My phone buzzed, text message from unknown number. Stop fighting the citations. Pay the fines. Keep your family safe. I screenshot the message, drove home, parked in my driveway, looked at my house, my neighborhood. Everything appeared normal. But someone was watching. Someone with access to HOA processes. Someone who knew my schedule well enough to intercept mail and forge signatures. Someone who wanted me gone. I needed to understand who had access to my mail and HOA records. The next morning, I called in sick to work, 37 years old, logistics officer for Brookvale Municipal Services. And I'd never used deception to solve a problem. But someone was systematically destroying my reputation. I started with the HOA board. Cedar Landing Homeowners Association had 5 members. President Zane Miller lived 3 streets over. Vice President Sophia Chen handled architectural reviews. Secretary Zane Thompson managed communications. Treasurer Sophia Davis controlled finances. At-large member Zane Foster represented general concerns. I'd met them all at the annual meeting. Polite conversations about lawn maintenance and holiday decorations. Nothing suggested hostility. I pulled the HOA governing documents from my filing cabinet. Article 7. Section 3 Detailed Complaint Procedures. Anonymous complaints required board member validation. The validating member assumed responsibility for accuracy. False complaints could result in board removal and legal liability. Someone on the board was either complicit or being deceived. I drove to the county courthouse, requested public records for Cedar Landing HOA. The clerk provided incorporation documents, annual filings, and board meeting minutes. I paid $12 for copies. In my truck, I reviewed the minutes. 3 months ago, the board had discussed problematic residents and enforcement consistency, no names mentioned. But the timing aligned with my first citation. 2 months ago, they'd approved enhanced compliance monitoring for repeat violators. Again, no specifics. But the language suggested targeted enforcement. Last month's minutes included a motion to, quote, streamline anonymous complaint processing, passed 4-1. The dissenting vote wasn't recorded. I needed to identify my advocate on the board. That afternoon, I visited each board member's house. Started with Zane Miller, the president. His property was immaculate. Professional landscaping. Fresh paint. No violations possible. He answered the door wearing golf attire. Friendly smile. We'd spoken briefly at neighborhood events. Elliot, right? From Maple Street? That's right. I wanted to discuss some recent citations. His expression shifted. Professional distance replaced warmth. HOA business goes through proper channels. Submit written requests to the board secretary. I'm trying to understand the complaint process. Someone's been filing false reports. All complaints are investigated thoroughly. The board doesn't discuss ongoing enforcement actions. He closed the door. Through the window, I saw him reach for his phone. Sophia Chen lived 2 blocks away. Her house showed minor violations. Mailbox paint, slightly faded. Driveway had small oil stains. But no citations on record. She wasn't home. I left a note requesting a meeting. Zane Thompson's house was perfect. No violations. No citations. His mailbox was newer than mine, recently installed. He answered the door immediately, like he'd been watching. Mr. Rodriguez, I heard you were visiting board members. Word travels fast. Small neighborhood. People talk. What can I help you with? I explained the forged signatures and intercepted mail. He listened without interruption, took notes on a small pad. That's concerning. Mail fraud is a federal crime. Have you contacted postal inspectors? Not yet. I wanted to understand the HOA's role first. We validate complaints in good faith. If someone's providing false information, that's fraud against the board, too. He seemed genuine, concerned, but I'd learned to distrust appearances. Who has access to complaint forms? They're available online. Anyone can download them. Board members can submit directly through our portal. Which board members have submitted complaints recently? I can't discuss specific submissions, but I can tell you the board is concerned about these allegations. False complaints undermine our credibility. I thanked him and left. 2 more houses to visit. Sophia Davis lived on the neighborhood's edge. Her property bordered the retention pond. Expensive landscaping, professional maintenance, no citations. She wasn't home either. I left another note. Zane Foster's house was the last stop. Corner lot, large yard, immaculate condition. His mailbox was identical to mine. Same manufacturer, same installation style. He answered before I knocked. Elliot Rodriguez, I've been expecting you. Expecting me? Zane Miller called, said you were investigating complaint procedures. Come in. His living room was sparse, functional furniture. No personal touches, like a temporary residence. I understand you're receiving citations for violations you didn't commit. That's right. Someone's forging my signature and intercepting mail. Show me the evidence. I pulled out the postal records and signature samples. He studied them carefully. Professional attention to detail. This handwriting is practiced. Someone spent time learning your signature. You have experience with forgery? 20 years in banking, fraud investigation, I know document analysis. He handed back the papers, walked to his window, looked toward my street. Your house is visible from here. Someone could monitor your schedule, learn your patterns. Any idea who? I have suspicions. But I need proof before making accusations. What kind of suspicions? He turned back to me. His expression was serious. Someone's been asking questions about you. Casual conversations, your work schedule, family activities, travel plans. Who? Your neighbor's gardener, Marcus Webb. He maintains several properties in the neighborhood, has access to yards, observes daily routines. I felt cold recognition. Marcus had worked for the Hendersons next door for 2 years. Quiet man. Polite conversations over the fence. He'd complimented my garden, asked about my work schedule, mentioned he'd noticed my travel patterns. Marcus has been gathering information about me. He's been asking neighbors about your family, your job. When you're home, seemed like friendly conversation, but the pattern suggests surveillance. Why would he target me? I don't know, but he has opportunity, access to the neighborhood, knowledge of your routine, and he's been asking about HOA procedures. What kind of questions? how complaints are filed, who validates them, whether board members verify information before processing. The pieces connected. Marcus knew my schedule, could access my mailbox during work hours, had studied HOA procedures, and he'd been systematically gathering intelligence. Do you have proof? Conversations with neighbors, but nothing documented. You need evidence of his involvement. I thanked Zane Foster and drove home. Parked in my driveway, looked at the Henderson house. Marcus's truck was in their driveway. He was trimming hedges near our shared fence. He waved, friendly smile. Same as always. But now I knew. Marcus Webb had been watching me, learning my patterns, filing false complaints, intercepting my mail, forging my signature. The question was why. That evening I installed a security camera in my mailbox area, hidden behind landscaping, motion-activated recording. If Marcus was accessing my mail, I'd have proof. I also called Sophia Chen and Sophia Davis, left messages, requesting meetings. I needed to understand which board member was validating Marcus's false complaints. The next morning, my phone rang. Sophia Chen. Mr. Rodriguez? I got your message. I'd like to meet. There's something you need to know about the complaint process. We arranged to meet at the neighborhood park, neutral location, public space. She arrived early, nervous energy, kept checking her surroundings. Someone's been manipulating the board, she said immediately. Filing complaints through a board member who doesn't verify information. Which board member? I can't prove it yet, but complaints are being processed without proper investigation. The board member signs off without visiting properties or confirming violations. Do you know who's filing the complaints? Anonymous submissions, but they're detailed, specific, someone with intimate knowledge of your property and schedule. Marcus Webb? Her expression confirmed my suspicion. You know about Marcus? Zane Foster mentioned he's been asking questions about me. It's more than questions. Marcus has been providing information to a board member, detailed reports about your activities, your family's schedule, your property maintenance. Which board member? She hesitated, looked around the park again. I need more evidence before making accusations. But I'm documenting everything, building a case. What kind of evidence? Email records, meeting notes, financial transactions. Financial transactions? Someone's been paying for enhanced surveillance, professional services, more than casual neighborhood observation. The betrayal was deeper than I'd realized. Marcus wasn't acting alone. Someone was paying him to monitor my family, to file false complaints, to systematically harass us. How long has this been going on? At least 6 months, maybe longer. The pattern suggests careful planning. I felt sick. 6 months of surveillance, of manipulation, of coordinated harassment. Why me? I don't know yet, but I'm gonna find out. That afternoon I checked my security camera. Motion had been triggered at 2:17 p.m. during work hours, when I was at the office. The footage showed Marcus Webb approaching my mailbox. He inserted a tool into the lock mechanism, opened the box, removed several pieces of mail, closed it carefully. I had him. I had Marcus Webb on camera stealing my mail, federal crime. But I needed more evidence before involving authorities. The surveillance network Sophia Miller described required documentation. Monday morning, I called in sick to work, set up additional cameras, positioned myself at the kitchen window with binoculars, waited. At 9:23 a.m., Marcus arrived at my neighbor's house, not for gardening. He carried a manila folder, spent 47 minutes inside, left with a different folder. I photographed his license plate, documented the timestamps, built a timeline. Tuesday I followed him, maintained a distance, watched him visit 3 other houses in Cedar Landing. Same pattern, folders exchanged, money changing hands. This wasn't random harassment. This was organized surveillance for profit. I contacted Officer Reese Harris at the Civil Rights Division, explained the situation, provided preliminary evidence. Mail theft is federal jurisdiction, he said, but if this involves housing discrimination or coordinated harassment, we can investigate. What constitutes coordinated harassment? Multiple parties working together to interfere with your peaceful enjoyment of property. Financial incentives make it conspiracy. I have video evidence of mail theft, witness testimony about false HOA complaints, financial transactions between the perpetrator and unknown parties. Bring everything to my office Thursday. We'll review the evidence and determine next steps. Wednesday evening, Sophia Miller called. I have the board member's name, documentation of payments, email records. Who is it? Zane Foster. The neighbor who'd warned me about Marcus, who'd seemed genuinely concerned, who'd been feeding me information while orchestrating the harassment. Zane's been paying Marcus Webb for surveillance reports, filing complaints based on Marcus's observations, creating a paper trail to justify harassment. Why? Property values. Zane wants to buy your house below market value. The harassment campaign was designed to pressure you into selling. The betrayal was complete. Zane had played concerned neighbor while systematically destroying my family's peace. Marcus was just the hired help. I have bank records showing payments to Marcus, email chains discussing your family's schedule, meeting notes about targeting your property. How did you get this information? I'm on the HOA board. I have access to financial records and correspondence. What they're doing violates multiple regulations. Thursday morning, I met Officer Harris at the Community Development Office. Brought printed emails, bank statements, video evidence, and witness testimony. This is extensive, he said, reviewing the documents. Mail theft, conspiracy to harass, potential housing discrimination, HOA regulation violations. What's the next step? We coordinate with federal postal inspectors for the mail theft. File charges for conspiracy, notify the HOA management company about board member violations. How long does this take? Federal investigation takes weeks, but we can get immediate restraining orders, stop the harassment while building the case. What about the other victims? If Marcus was surveilling multiple properties, we'll contact those homeowners. This could be a broader conspiracy. Friday afternoon, postal inspectors arrived at Marcus Webb's house, executed a search warrant, seized computers, files, and surveillance equipment. Zane Foster received a cease and desist order, prohibited from contacting my family or filing HOA complaints about my property. The investigation revealed Marcus had been paid $2,400 over 6 months, surveillance reports on 7 different families, all targeted for property acquisition schemes. Zane had been buying distressed properties after orchestrating harassment campaigns, flipping them for profit. A systematic neighborhood manipulation scheme. The HOA management company terminated Zane's board position, voided all complaints he'd filed without proper investigation, implemented new verification procedures for anonymous submissions. Marcus Webb pled guilty to mail theft and conspiracy charges. Received 18 months federal probation and $5,000 in fines. Prohibited from entering Cedar Landing subdivision. Zane Foster faced civil lawsuits from multiple neighbors, lost his real estate license, moved out of the neighborhood within 60 days. The other targeted families formed a support group, shared experiences, documented similar harassment patterns, helped each other rebuild their sense of security. I developed safety protocols for families facing neighborhood hostility, created checklists for evidence collection, established communication networks with local authorities. The noise complaints stopped immediately. My family's sleep returned to normal. The constant anxiety lifted. But the damage to trust remained. Every neighbor interaction carried suspicion. Every friendly conversation felt potentially manipulative. The investigation had revealed how easily suburban life could be weaponized, how trust could be systematically exploited, how financial incentives could corrupt community relationships. 6 months of harassment, thousands in legal fees, countless sleepless nights, all for one man's profit scheme. The federal case against Marcus proceeded slowly. Documentation, depositions, court appearances. The legal system ground forward methodically. But the immediate threat was over. The surveillance had ended. The false complaints stopped. My family could finally breathe. 12 months later, Cedar Landing felt different, not just quieter, fundamentally changed. The new HOA board implemented transparency measures. All complaints required documented evidence. Board meetings became public record. Anonymous submissions were prohibited entirely. Property values stabilized. The 3 families who'd considered moving stayed. New residents received orientation packets about community standards and proper complaint procedures. Marcus Webb completed his probation without incident. The federal conviction remained on his record. No landscaping company in Brookvale would hire him. Zane Foster's real estate empire collapsed completely. Civil judgments totaled $47,000 across 6 families. His former property sold at significant losses. He relocated to Mississippi. The support group continued meeting monthly. Sophia Miller organized neighborhood watch programs. We shared security camera footage protocols. Documented suspicious activity patterns. My logistics background proved valuable for evidence organization. I helped 3 other families navigate similar harassment situations in neighboring subdivisions. The patterns were always recognizable once you knew what to look for. The County Community Development Office created new guidelines. Officer Reese Harris presented training sessions on recognizing coordinated harassment campaigns. Other municipalities adopted similar protocols. Sleep came easier now. My daughter's bedroom faced the backyard again. The security cameras remained active but felt less necessary. The hypervigilance gradually faded. Trust rebuilt slowly. Conversations with neighbors resumed naturally. Block parties returned. Children played outside without constant supervision. The financial cost had been substantial: legal fees, security equipment. Lost productivity during the investigation. But the community emerged stronger. Property line disputes were handled through proper surveying procedures. HOA complaints followed established verification processes. Anonymous harassment became impossible under the new transparency requirements. The investigation files remained organized in my home office. Evidence of how suburban manipulation operated. Documentation for future reference if needed. But the immediate crisis had passed. The systematic harassment ended. The false complaints stopped permanently. My family reclaimed our home, our neighborhood, our peace of mind. The silence at night was no longer ominous. It was simply quiet, the way suburban evenings should be. No mysterious footsteps. No fabricated violations. No coordinated noise campaigns during important family events. Just the normal sounds of a functioning community. Lawnmowers on weekends. Children playing. Neighbors talking over fence lines. The betrayal had taught valuable lessons about trust and verification, about the importance of documentation, about the power of community solidarity when facing systematic manipulation. But those lessons came at a cost. Innocence about neighborhood safety. Automatic trust in friendly gestures. The assumption that community relationships were genuine. Still, we'd survived, exposed the truth. Protected other families from similar schemes. The harassment campaign that had dominated 6 months of our lives became a cautionary tale, shared with new residents. Referenced in HOA training materials. A reminder that suburban tranquility required active protection, that community trust needed verification, that financial incentives could corrupt even the most basic neighborly relationships. But tonight, as I locked the front door and turned off the porch light, the neighborhood felt genuinely peaceful. No surveillance, no schemes, no hidden agendas. Just home. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.